Good morning, Ms. Harmon. My name is Josh Sargee. We've been working hard on the ad campaign, and I'm here today to review some of the concepts we've come up with. We've been over the creative brief and have brainstormed ways to meet your goals for the campaign, which we believe will be very successful in expanding the center's patronage and the general level of interest among the community. The single biggest theme we took from our conversations with you was focusing on a younger, more mainstream audience than the center usually attracts. With this in mind, we've geared our ideas up to this point towards illustrating how art is present in daily life and also bringing into focus the roles that it already plays in popular and mainstream culture. We've tried to take an approach so that the point of view of the ads is sympathetic to our audience, one they relate to. It is subtle and not over-exaggerated. We tried to give the ads a flavor of mild youthful rebellion, but also mix in elements that should appeal to young adults in the 20 to 30 year age range. The concept drafts that I'm going to share with you today show a variety of approaches with different levels of these themes and ideas present. These are, of course, prototypes, and after getting your feedback on them, we will continue to produce more in the same vein. Today's review session will ensure that we are indeed on the right track and that you'll ultimately be satisfied with the results you get from your campaign. First of all, we have a full-page print ad that we feel is a balance of the approaches. It appeals to our target audience in a broad way, with different viewers seeing the message according to their own viewpoints. The ad is simple, featuring a detention slip that's been heavily doodled on. The words on the slip show that the doodling was what got the student in trouble to begin with. This is an appeal on a familiar concept, kids drawing in school, which is artistic, but doing it at an inappropriate time, which is rebellious. Depending on the viewer's viewpoint and experience, it should fit one of two main strategies. For parents or young adults, or even older adults, it may bring back fond memories of childhood, perhaps some nostalgia. A younger viewer may identify with the fictitious detentionee's bucking of the system, especially in such a small way. Either way, there is a definite undercurrent linking both views to art. So we meet our targets in connecting art, youth, and mild rebellion. The center's logo and the tagline "Art Happens" follow directly below with an added bit of defiance in the words "Deal with it." Ultimately, we're portraying art, and specifically the center, as a kind of socially acceptable rebellion, which we want the target audience to identify with and form an emotional bond with. Next is a billboard ad concept which focuses more on the young adult and parental part of the target audience. Again, this is an emotional appeal based on family bonds and nostalgia. The underlying idea of the ad is to tie those emotions to the idea that art and expression are almost universal human qualities. The average person doesn't usually consider the topic of art on a daily basis. This ad uses something familiar and mundane as a vehicle for calling attention to and generating interest in the topic of art. While this ad approach is dominantly focused on the older demographic, there is a secondary subordinate message that may come across to younger viewers, the message that even simple drawings are art and are acceptable. This plays on the underlying motives that produce such drawings as the one featured on the billboard, which are youthful desires for expression and acceptance. All of these reactions are tied to art, and then the ad basically points to the center and says, "This is where you find art." Next is an unconventional approach, a guerrilla ad, which we discussed with you initially, an ad that draws attention because it's unconventional and unexpected. The idea behind this guerrilla ad prototype is also multifold. The idea is to paint graffiti in different high-traffic places around town with the cooperation of the owners of different properties. Obviously, we'd want to use something that was easily removable on request. This idea is very simple to implement and extremely flexible. Some instances could be simple words, as are shown here, or they could be more artistic with flights of birds or flowers, something like that. Some could be more reminiscent of children drawing on the walls. Very flexible. This is really a shock ad, since these would preferably be placed in places that people would not expect to see things painted on a wall. This generates interest, which would be directed towards the center by a sticker placed near each one with the center's logo and address. Now, finally, there is the television ad. The concept here was that when many people think of art, it brings up memories of school and learning about historic or classic pieces. The connotation could usually be described as boring, old and dusty. The idea behind the TV spot is to break that connection and call attention to contemporary, more cutting-edge forms of art. Also, there is a spirit of youthful rebellion in our narrator. We conceive of a young lady with alternative, probably Gothic, influences or something similar in her appearance. The images in the ad are mainly placeholders. We would have to work with you and the copyright holders to acquire the images we would use in the ad. It would be preferable if the center has a member artist who could function as the narrator. We'd also like to replace the images in the second part of the spot with similar images from center artists, if possible. Also, since we don't actually have a narrator yet, the dialogue that she would use has been subtitled in. Again, keep in mind that the images here are placeholders, intended to communicate to you what the ad's message is, not necessarily the final spot itself.